Winter of hell is coming in 2022 for a real estate housing bubble burst, all the way to massive increases in gas prices, all the way down to food shortages and product shortages in America if this conflict does not end very soon. Hey gang, this is Mike with MrNoFluff.com, and today we're going to be talking about the winter of hell coming for the real estate market, gas prices, and food shortages. Okay, the very first thing is that I want to talk about the housing bubble bust that's going to be happening. In my personal opinion, that in 2022 December, the winter is going to be the 2006 fourth quarter, because we all know that real estate crashed in 2008 and going further. However, the first cracks in the dam, the first cracks in the wall happened in 2006 fourth quarter, as I own a moving company and had many locations, and I realized that people couldn't pay for their moves, $300, $400, when they were buying these expensive homes. And I realized something is going bad, sour. And I guess what? 6 months later, 12 months later, we saw the biggest crash in the housing market. Now, I believe that this is the same thing. December of 2022 is going to be the 2006 fourth quarter moment where we will see massive haircuts in real estate, the beginning stages of it. Now, we're seeing tiny hair fractures, for example, in Dallas, Texas, where there's sellers are coming left and right. Down one street, you can see multiple houses for sale, and I haven't seen that since 2008, 2009, okay? So why do I think that the housing bubble is going to burst? Well, because the market has been manipulated. The Fed has been controlling the interest rates and the printing of money, the handing out of money, and when you combine all that, we get side effects, which is massive inflation in assets, hard assets like stock market and real estate and so on, even in used cars or new cars. Okay, but the party is ending, because inflation is getting so high that gas prices are extremely high, food prices are extremely high. I always make a joke. I used to buy 2 watermelons for $5 a day. For one watermelon, organically, you're going to pay $10, if not more. Okay, so this is what's happening. All right, and so we're going to have massive pain coming down the pipe. And when it comes to real estate, the same thing is going to happen, because for example, I'm in a new state. I'm looking at a tax roll, and I see this place that I'm staying at. For example, back in 2011, they sold it, and someone bought it for $67,000. Okay, that's 2011. And then you forward to 2018, then the same exact house now was worth $113,000. Then you forward to 2022, they're trying to sell the same exact house for $250,000, and they probably can get away with it till $200,000. Okay, and you can see how each person that's bought it, they've been able to double their money. From 67 to 113, from 113 to and so on. Okay, they've been doubling their money. They're trying to sell it for like 200 to 250. Okay, every seller. So this is abnormal growth. Okay, the houses should not be going up so much so fast. Okay, and so there is going to be pain into that, because as they dry out the buyers. What makes prices go up is when everyone can get a loan. When people don't have 20% down, they don't have a skin in the game, but they can still get a house. Okay, when that happens, and it doesn't matter if you're talking about what market, if you're talking about used cars, if you're talking about new cars, if you're talking about homes, then when anyone can line up and there's more buyers lining up than products, then prices will go up. When there is no buyers lining up because they can't afford to make the monthly payments, because interest rates are now realistically where, if you have money saved in the bank, you're not being penalized, you're actually getting paid for it, then you'll see that, the prices of these assets are going to be coming down and correcting, aka crashing. Okay, and in my personal opinion, this is my belief system, and not financial advice. So this is why I call winter of hell is coming, because people's real estate, people's stocks are also going to be affected in this conflict. Now let's move forward to gas prices. Now back in 2019, I came out and I said gas prices are going to go to $9. and gas prices were at all-time low. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was an incident with gas prices that no one wanted to hold it. It was actually negative, if you wanted to buy it, no one wanted to store it. And I said, no, the pendulum has shifted all the way to the left. The only thing's going to go now is the other way. That's the world we live in, the world of duality. It's just pretty simple. I'm not a rocket scientist. And guess what? Now gas prices in some states are hitting $7, $8, $9 per gallon. Okay, and you can see it in any newspapers you want. So in 2019, I predicted that gas prices are going to go to $9, and here we are now hitting that mark target very, very correctly. Back in 2019, when gas prices are all-time low, everyone laughed at me. But I believe that if the conflict continues with Ukraine and Russia, and if we escalate the conflict with Iran, then there's going to be shortages of gas, fuel. What that means is you're going to go to the pump and there's not going to be any gas there, and if it is, it's going to be astronomical. $20, $19 to $100 if you can find gas, because they control a major area for OPEC oil to leave to hit the major sea for transport. Okay, and they can contract that area and not allow anything to come across, which means that the world will not get a lot of fuel, especially with the situation with Russia, where they're one of the biggest producers of exporters of oil, because we're America is a pretty big producer, but we consume all of it. Okay, so we don't have any excessive, right? Just kind of like what we do with our economy. We produce, but we consume all, and then we borrow more. Okay, where, for example, in Russia, they produce, they consume, but they have so much left over that they can sell. And it's a better situation to be in, better positioning, in my opinion, to be in a situation of surplus versus deficiency, debt. Okay, so I think winter hell is coming. Gas prices are going to go extremely high if the conflict doesn't end, and if we cause more conflict because of our foreign policies and get into a tug of war with Iran, that the gas prices are going to go astronomical, because Russia and Iran, major producers, are going to make life tough for us because of our policies. Now, the other thing is that there's going to be product and food shortages. Okay, thanks to the last president, the number one manufacturer of the world, China, we sanctioned them, we tariffed them. Hence, that's why we are paying more for stuff. Hence, that's why there's shortages. Like if you go to your average car dealership, they don't have any cars in their lot. Well, what do you think all the parts come from, products come from? Well, it comes from these countries. Sanctions, tariff, there's not. Now, some people say it's pandemic, this and that. Well, they're just trying to confuse you. Just pretty simple. Whoever produces your stuff, you increase their price on them. They're going to translate that price into your pocketbook, into my pocketbook. Anyone else says anything else is baloney. I don't believe it. It's not the facts. It's just they never owned a business before. I've owned a business. For example, I own a moving company, and if shrink wrap went up just by $5, $10, $20 per roll, I had to increase it. Because for one move we'll use like 4 or 5 shrink wraps, right? So that becomes a lot of money. A shrink wrap at that time was like $25 a roll, right? So you're talking about $100 on a move, and if the thing went up just by $5 in every move you're going to, you're using 4 rolls. Well, that's $20, and then it starts adding up. You have 10 trucks, and they're all using the same. It starts chipping at your profits, and so you have to turn around and churn that onto the customer. So that's exactly how business works too. So if we don't change our foreign policy with China, then we're not even going to have products coming in, because we're in conflict with Russia, which is the natural producers of raw material. Now we're in conflict with China, which is takes the Russia's raw material, and they produce all this stuff and they ship it to us. And so the factory of the world and the raw material of the world, we're in conflict with. And so that only translates into something very simple, like there's going to be food shortages, there's going to be shortages of products, whatever you could imagine. A lot of stuff comes from China, believe it or not, from your medicine to your bikes, to your car parts. And and there's going to be food shortages, product shortages, and high prices. Just what I'm calling the winter of hell, because, and this is only in America, and we're the richest country, and that's like the worst thing, right, in a sense, right? But you think that's the worst thing. Well, imagine in these other countries, there's phantom going on. If you look at what's going on in Pakistan, if you look at what's going on in Sri Lanka, if you look what's going on, all those countries over there, their people are just dying. I mean, like I looked at Afghanistan, it's just like there's over like 1 million babies that their parents are just dry and they don't have anything to feed their kids because the mom's not eating and they're just all below. It's very, very sad. Okay, so other countries are going into phantom, and here we're just paying higher gas prices, higher meat prices, higher watermelon prices, higher rent, higher this and that, and then our life savings are shrinking because of inflation, because of the stock market crash, because of the real estate crash. So our phantom gains are going to be erased because we thought we had equity. So we're going to be paying the price, but other countries are even going to pay a higher price. And this is what I'm saying, this is going to be the winter of hell. In other countries, for example, in Europe, I think they're going to have a lot harder time because they are dependent on the fuel source of Russia and it's getting cut off. So they're going to have blackouts, they're going to be freezing to death. And this is very sad because I was in Texas the last time there was no electricity. And I can tell you guys, Texas is warm, and not having electricity is extremely cold in your home, ladies and gentlemen, especially when it's like freezing outside and it's snowing. And not having any way to heat yourself is very, very dangerous and crazy. And hundreds of people have died, right, in Texas. Imagine being in like Europe where it's very, very cold and not having any way to warm yourself or your family or your kids. Pretty sad situation. So this is why I call winter of hell is coming. So I think that 2022, which is this year, winter, by December, that we're going to see major cracks in the real estate market. And then in the next year or two, we're going to see the devastation happen of real estate, okay? And these other things that I mentioned, from gas prices to food shortages, unless, we are able to stop fanning the conflict in Ukraine. But our big brothers are not doing that. They're sending long distance missiles, they're sending this, sending that, and which is just fanning the war machine, which means a lot of money expenditure for us and higher bills for us and wiping out the middle class.